There's a saying that goes, people don't quit their job, they quit their manager. Now think about that. People don't quit their job, they quit their manager. They quit the company. They quit the environment. In today's episode, I want to talk about why safety managers quit. Why do some safety managers not even last a year in the job before they say, you know what, I'm out? There are 4 big reasons why this happens. And in this episode, I'm going to unpack each and every one of these. And I'm going to explain what you can do to overcome this if you're feeling any kind of tension in your job. This is going to be a really helpful video because it explains why people burn out. Well, hey friend, my name is David Sawyer. I'm a safety coach. I help busy safety managers go from feeling overwhelmed to OSHA ready. I help companies prevent accidents and avoid an unexpected OSHA inspection. But really what I do is in these episodes, I try to explain what you need to know as a safety manager. There's all kinds of tools and resources that explain OSHA regulations, but there's not a lot that teaches you how to be a world-class safety manager. So the first step, if you haven't done it already, go to my website, helpwithosha.com, and you can access a free OSHA audit checklist. Now, this isn't just a PDF. It's actually a checklist that you can go and you can watch a video. I will unpack parts of the checklist, and it will explain what you need to know to prepare your team for an unexpected OSHA audit. It is so much more than just a checklist. It's really the first step in getting the chaos that's going around you into something that's easy to understand. I want to bring clarity to the chaos. So if you haven't done that, go ahead and do that right now. It is a free checklist, helpwithosha.com. All right, in this episode, I want to talk about the 4 main reasons that safety managers throw in the towel. Why do they quit before 1 year? Oftentimes, as a safety coach, I'm brought in to help a new manager get his or her footing under them, right? Get a sound foundation so they understand written programs, safety training, and how to verify and do inspections so that the company works automatically. So you have a systematic approach and not just a safety program where you're constantly putting out fires. But I can tell you, I've seen many a safety manager get burned out. And oftentimes I feel like if I had had a chance to talk to them beforehand, I might have been able to prepare them. So in this episode, I want to give you some tools and some resources that will prepare you for the tensions that come as a safety manager. Now, the first thing I want to say is, if you don't have a clear plan, you are destined to fail. And this is probably the number one thing I see. I'm not saying these are listed in any particular order, but I see this all the time. As a new safety manager, you step into a role where you're filling somebody else's shoes. And so you come in with certain expectations that are placed on you by management, by coworkers, by supervisors, and they expect you to hit the ground running. There's no learning curve in their eyes. They want you to go from 0 to 60 on the first day, and they want you to know everything you need to know right away. And so when you get there and you're like, okay, what do I do? Right? What do I do? You have to have a game plan. And this starts with conducting a safety assessment. So right off the bat, you need to figure out, where are my hazards? Where are employees getting hurt? Right? Where have historically we had accidents? And then when I go out and I talk with managers and I talk with workers, where are people worried about an accident happening? Where are the hazards? What kind of industry am I working in? Like, I work in a lot of different industries. And so fiberglass and pharmaceuticals, that's different than food processing and textiles and machining or metal work. So you have to make sure you identify, where are the hazards. Just last week, I was doing a safety gap analysis with a company. And one of the first things I did was I took the core leadership group out to the production floor and we walked around. Now, I had never been there before, right? So they know a lot more about their job than I know. But when I walked around, I immediately realized they have a lot of machines. They have a lot of machines. And the way the machines were working, guarding was an issue and lockout tagout was an issue. Now, I'm not saying they were doing a bad job at that, but if I was new on the job, if I was their new safety manager and they'd hired me, I'd immediately look around and go, okay, we got a lot of machines. We got a lot of machine hazards. We need to make sure machine guarding and lockout top notch. That needs to be the focus. Wherever you're working, think about the equipment your employees are using. Think about the area that they're working in. Think about the jobs that they do. How are they most likely going to get hurt? Build a plan. You've got to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you're going to be going in every single direction and you won't get anything done. So have a game plan, things to work on, and that starts with a safety assessment. Now, after that, the next reason that people quit is because they feel like they're responsible for a lot of things, but they have no authority to change anything. So let me say that again. Have you ever worked in a place where you feel like, I got a lot of responsibility on my shoulders, and yet I can't make any changes because I don't have any authority? That builds frustration. That builds frustration because you feel like, hey, I'm trying my best. I see problems and I want to make changes, but nobody's listening to me. The best way to handle that is to build relationships. Now, if you're a safety manager that got hired within, right? Maybe you were in quality and they moved you over into safety, or maybe you were in HR and they said, hey, we need you to be in charge of safety. One of the best things you can do is build quality relationships with supervisors and people in key positions. I'll give you a hint. Some of the key positions, maintenance. You want to build a solid relationship with your maintenance manager, your maintenance director, your engineering director, people that are going to be fixing problems. Figure out, how do we put in work orders here? Make sure you have a good relationship with maintenance. On the other side of the coin is you want to have a good relationship with production, with your plant manager, with your supervisors, with people that are coordinating both first shift and second shift. You got to have a quality relationship with them so that they respect you. Your position might not have the authority to do a whole lot, but you can have influence, right? Hear me out on that. You can have influence, and influence beats authority every time. Authority says you have to do it because of my job title and I'm in charge. Influence, people actually want to do it for you. They want to do it for you. I'll never forget the first time I was a safety manager. I was working at a company and I was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed by all the different things. And I did what I just mentioned earlier. I had done a safety walkthrough and an assessment, and I found a problem with some pipes that were very hot, and employees were having to step over the pipes throughout their workday. And I just was like, that doesn't look right? I'm not an expert, but that looks dangerous. They're stepping over these pipes, and they got the possibility of getting burned. And I remember talking with the maintenance manager, and he was like, well, we can fix that. And as I was talking to him, I was like, well, I don't want to mess up the machine if you have to. He goes, I'll take care of it for you. And that's all he said. And what had happened was, over the past couple of weeks, we had built a relationship where he knew I wanted to protect people. I wasn't in there just for compliance. I was there because I didn't want anybody getting burned. And he was like, I know a way to fix that problem, and let me just handle that for you. And man, we handled it low key, took care of it, fixed the problem. And about 2 weeks later, I had one of the second shift supervisors came up to me and was like, man, thank you so much. That thing has been such a pain in the butt with those pipes, and you fixed it. And I was like, well, actually it was Rick that fixed it. It wasn't me. but it made such a difference that they were praising me for something that, really I just was influenced. I was saying, hey, let's get this done, and it worked. So that's the second reason, is because managers feel like I don't have any authority, and I'm frustrated because I want to make change, but I can't lay the hammer down and do it. Build relationships, build influence. The third thing, and I see this too, man, all the time, is you step into the role and you feel like you are drowning. You feel like you are drowning in to-dos. And it's funny, when I was preparing for this video, I thought, I've got a sign right beside my desk. And so bear with me. I want to hold this up. It's kind of messy, but literally this is right out of my office. It says, stop, ask, is what I'm doing right now the most valuable use of my time? That is a tool that I got from Brian Tracy. It's something that he did in a seminar, and he said, you need to have that on your desk and say, stop, is what I'm doing right now the most valuable use of my time? And I literally have that stuck by my desk, because we get in habits where our brain is going down a track and it's going to see it to completion, and it's very easy to get sidetracked. And as a safety manager, you can have a list of 50 things that you're supposed to do that day. But are they all valuable? Maybe not. Maybe some of those things aren't valuable at all. Maybe they're just, they're things that are busy work, right? You remember when you were in grade school and high school and middle school, and the teacher would give you stuff and you were like, this is just busy work. Yes, I have to turn it in, but it's just busy work. I'm not really learning anything here. In the world of safety, don't put busy work on your plate. You don't have time for busy work. Get rid of the things you don't have time for. If it is not valuable to preventing accidents, get rid of it. Don't do things just because somebody else has always been doing it. One of the things you need to think of as a new safety manager is, what do I have to do and what can I eliminate? What can I cut out of my schedule? Think about this. How many times have you sat in front of your email and gone through your email and tried to get to email inbox 0, where you're like, I'm going to clear up my email. I'm going to do this job. Did it make a difference? Did that actually save somebody or protect somebody that day? Probably not, right? You would probably be better, your time would better be spent scanning the emails for things that are valuable and then moving on and doing something that's actually going to prevent that hazard, that's actually going to prevent that accident. So even though you can always have a list of 50 things you have to do, you will get burned out if you spend your time going through and trying to clear out all the to-dos. You feel like you're underwater and you're drowning in compliance paperwork, and you don't feel like you get done at the end of the day and you don't feel like you did anything. Have you ever felt that way before? Have you ever gone home after work and you're like, what did I even accomplish? Those are the worst days. The best days are where you're like, man, I nailed that. I nailed that training. I nailed that written program. We put that policy in place that's going to protect somebody. We did that accident investigation, and now I know exactly how to prevent that accident from happening next time. Focus on the things that have value, not the to-dos. Not the to-dos. Because there's always going to be to-dos. There's always going to be another thing to do. You want to focus on the things that are really going to make a difference and eliminate the other things. Eliminate the other things. Now, the fourth reason that managers quit is because they don't have any support, because they feel alone. Safety can be a very lonely job. Think about it. When you're in production, you got people all around you that are helping you. People that are pushing you, people that want to get that job done, want to get that box in the truck, want to get that truck down to the road to the customer. Production is surrounded by a team. Quality is usually surrounded by a team. Maintenance is usually surrounded by a team. Safety, you might have a helper. You might have a couple helpers depending on the size of your company, but so often the safety manager is the alone. I'm alone. I'm right here, but I'm all alone. And they don't feel like they have any support. So that's the fourth reason. Now, I wanted to put a bow on this by telling you a true story of a safety manager that I worked with for a number of months, and he was doing a fantastic job, and he quit. I want to tell you a real story of somebody that quit. And you can probably relate to this, but I want to tell you the story so we can learn from it so it doesn't happen to you and it doesn't happen in your organization. Because when people quit the job that they were hired to do, they're usually not quitting the job. They're usually quitting the manager above them. So in this situation, I'm going to call this guy Tony, okay? His name's not Tony, but I know he watches this channel, so I don't want to out him in front of anybody else. So I'm going to call him Tony. But Tony was a safety manager, and Tony had come in to being a safety manager from a job as a lineman. He had worked in high voltage electricity for about a decade. He knew electrical safety inside and out, one of the best people to go to for electrical safety. But he was hired into a job with a food processing company. And in the food processing company, they had over 1,000 employees. And they had gone several months without a safety manager. And so he was hired, he was brought in here. And one of the reasons he wanted the job, and this is, again, I'm just telling Tony's story, but Tony took the job because he wanted to be close to home. And as a lineman, he had been on crews and had been traveling and had made really good money, but he was tired of the road and wanted to get closer to his family. You can probably relate. I've been there before too. When I was a consultant traveling all around in my 20s, I wanted a job to get a little closer to home, so I took a safety manager job. He took a safety manager job. He took a pay cut to take this job. And he knew he was taking a pay cut to take this job, but he took the pay cut because he thought, you know what? It's more valuable for me to be home every night with my family. I want to be home. And I feel like this is going to be a rewarding career because I really can make a difference. I want to help make a difference and prevent people from getting hurt. He had the right mindset. He knew what he's accepting. He came into the role. I was a safety coach that was hired to work with him, to train him, to get him up to speed so that he knew exactly the written programs, the safety training, the inspections. He had somebody he could call on. He had a resource. He had somebody that could help him with things, and I was there to make sure he was successful. So you can see why I have a lot of ownership in this, because I wanted him to be successful. And man, we hit the ground running, and he did a fantastic job. Like, he had the right mindset. He was out on the floor. He was talking to people. He wasn't in his office. He wasn't staying busy with paperwork. He was actually on the floor, making a difference, being a face, getting out there, helping people understand this is the safe way to do it. And he was not 20 years old. He was a man that was mature, and he had the what was I looking for? The word, not authority, the one we were just talking about, influence. He had a way to have influence over the supervisors, and he had respect with the maintenance team because he knew electricity. He had all these things going for him. And after about a month on the job, I sat down and we were going over some of the to-dos and some of the goals that he had for that month. And he made the offhanded comment, David, I think you know exactly what you're doing because you're out here as a safety coach, not as a manager. And I said, what do you mean, Tony? And he goes, I'm just telling you, I'm getting frustrated with some of the things I'm bumping up against, and I wish I didn't have to be out here every day. I think it makes sense for you only to come out every now and then. Because as a safety coach, I wasn't the safety manager. I wasn't there on site. My job is to help him be successful. And so that was a window into his brain, into his thinking, and he was not happy. And it had only been a month. And so I started kind of pulling that apart, teasing it out, and was asking him, well, what can we do to, why don't you feel like you're being heard? And in short, he said, I had brought up a lot of safety hazards and a lot of things I think we need to get fixed, some guarding issues, some new safety devices we need to do, and every one of them is shot down. I bring it to my manager, and every one of them is shot down. They said, we can't afford to do that. That costs too much. We can't afford to do that. That costs too much. And he was like, do you know how much it costs when somebody gets hurt? It makes so much more sense to be proactive and install a guard on this piece of equipment rather than be reactive and pay the price both physically for the injury and also monetarily for, all the cost that goes into an injury. And that was a window into something he was frustrated with. He was not feeling like they took his role seriously. They were seeing him as somebody, hey, just take care of it. Take care of it, Tony. Don't come to us. We're not going to give you resources. We're not going to give you money to fix the problem. Just go handle it. And it was, he kind of voiced this, and we were putting words to thoughts he had. And he was like, I feel like they're telling me to go build a deck and they won't even give me a hammer. Yeah. Hey, go build a deck. Can I go buy some lumber? No, we don't have money for lumber. Go build the deck. You're like, oh, this isn't working. And he started to get frustrated. And after 6 months, they reached out to me and they said, Mr. Sawyer, David, we are glad for your service. We're not gonna renew your contract for another 6 months. We wanna end it right here, and we feel like Tony's good. And I was like, okay, I understand. I didn't feel like Tony was where he needed to be, but they felt like he was where he needed to be. And Tony was doing a fantastic job. Don't misunderstand me, but I had expected to be working with him for a full year, and they canceled my contract. And I was like, so I went to Tony, and Tony said, you know what? I'm out of here too. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. And it came out. It didn't happen exactly like that. I told him I was leaving, told him what had happened, and he was so bummed out because he said, man, I was depending on you. I need you. I need your help. I need your guidance. I need your support. I need your expertise. I need a coach. I know I need a coach. And they're not giving me the support I need. You were the support I need. And he put in his notice and he quit. He was there I think it ended up being less than 6 months. It was right around the 6 month point. And guess what? They had to go hire somebody else. And they had to start the process all over again. Tony was a fantastic fit. And I talked to him the other day, after all the dust and all this stuff had settled. And he said, man, I'm doing great. I'm traveling around. I'm doing the lineman gig. I'm making double the money I was making as a safety manager at that facility because they were not paying very well because they did not value safety. And so I just felt like, man, what a shame. That was such a frustrating situation for everybody involved. I invested 6 months of my time, energy, and emotion into Tony to bring him up. And no matter what he did, he felt like he was hitting that ceiling. And I understand why he quit. Now, you can't always work in an environment like that. But some of the secrets I was just telling you make a big difference. You want to have a clear plan when you hit the ground running so you know what's expected and have a safety assessment so you know what to do. If you don't have authority, build influence. Have people around you. Focus your time on the things that matter most. Like I said with my wall statement here where I said you want to make sure that you're spending your time on the most valuable thing you can every moment. Don't waste your time doing things that don't matter. And then when you don't feel supported, one of the best things you can do is communicate. Don't go silent. When you go radio silent, you go in your office and you don't tell people what's going on, it just builds discontent. We want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to communicate, hey, this is where we are with safety, and here's the goal. The reason I'm here is because I want to get there. I want to take this company to where we have 0 accidents and nobody's getting hurt. Now, if what I said today resonated with you, if you feel like, man, I've been there, tell me which one of the 4 in the comments, either on the podcast or the YouTube channel, which one of the 4 resonates with you. Where do you feel frustrated? Where do you feel like, oh man, everything's going good, but I'm really, this is the one thing that's really sticking in my craw. This is the thing that's bothering me. Let me know that. And like I said, if this resonated with you, please go to my website, Help with OSHA. You can check out my stress-free safety program. This is a system that I developed for new safety managers to help them go from overwhelmed to OSHA ready. It's a system that I have where I help you establish exactly where you are with a clear safety assessment. We set clear company expectations for where you want to go with your safety program. And we build in training and communication, and we verify it with written programs. And then we build a culture where it's not all on you. That was the part that we missed with Tony. Tony was at the part where he was getting ready to leverage over and have a safety committee and be able to delegate responsibilities so that it's not all on his shoulders. Tony was frustrated and burned out because it was all on his shoulders. And I help safety managers make that transition so it's not on all on their shoulders, but they feel like, hey, everyone buys into safety at every level of the organization. That's the goal. And the last thing is, you don't do it alone. You have a safety coach, you have support, you have a mentor, you have somebody that's been there. And I have been there. I have seen safety managers fail, and they don't fail because they don't care. They fail because they don't have a system. This is a proven system that will work. So go to my website, helpwithosha.com, access the OSHA audit checklist. You can check out my stress-free safety program and hop on a call with me. We'll figure out if it's a good fit for your company. And from there, we can make sure that your safety programs are top-notch so that you prevent accidents and you avoid an unexpected OSHA audit. Until we talk again, do everything you can to keep the people you work with safe, because no one should get hurt at work.